Greetings. I'm Brother Spence, once again, down here in the Lion's Den. Part 2. That's right, Part 2 of how to cope with Thanksgiving season. Now, for those that don't know, in 2021, don't worry about it. For those that do know, that the Most High Jah, the Omnipotent Almighty One, has opened your heart and your eyes to that higher truth, to true consciousness, not just semi-consciousness. We look in the northern kingdom of Israel, true ethnic Yasharal, in 722. That northern kingdom falls to Babylon through captivity, that first exile. We see through historical facts and other evidence that many of the so-called Gadites and Reubenites from the northern kingdom of Israel that chose to be careless and who were caught up in that generational curse, as it speaks of in Deuteronomy chapter 28. You have the blessings for obedience and the curses for disobedience, according to the Most High Yahweh, Elohim, according to the Most High Jah, as the one true Elohim or Elohim of true ethnic and true spiritual Israel. We have that remnant of the ethnic seed people. You have the southern kingdom identified, so-called African Americans and African slaves, or African Israelite slaves in the West Indies, parts of South America, here in North America. Then you have the Native Indians, so-called Native Americans, in that connection with the tribes of Gad and Reuben from that first exile. And we have clear evidence today. The basic Hebraic connection of Native Indians here in the North Country. So we have 1 Chronicles 12:8 in the Bible. And of the Gadites, they're separated unto David. They're separated unto David. And to the hold to the wilderness men of might and men of war, fit for the battle. To hold in the wilderness men of might and men of war, fit for battle, that could handle shield and buckler, whose faces were like the faces of lions. The North American Indians had fearsome faces like lions because they wore war paint every time they went out to battle. We see that through what we identify today as so-called Native Indians, many of the Cherokee, the Blackfoot, and the Sioux. So all due respect, and let us give thanks for those who can boycott Thanksgiving altogether because of your personal situation. God bless, all due respect, boycott Thanksgiving. But another way to come out of Babylon, but yet through Jah's grace, through Yahweh's extended grace, we use that spiritual Tai Chi to reverse engineer the so-called Thanksgiving season. So now we give thanks to the Most High Jah. We give thanks to the Almighty One, the true living God, or Elohim, for sparing that seed or that remnant amongst the Gadites and Reubenites, as so-called Native Indians, almost wiped out through the hands of white supremacy in that generational curse. So let's keep this short and simple. Put a sign together. You take a piece of cardboard box. It doesn't have to be a piece of cardboard or a cardboard box. It could be a piece of wood. It could be styrofoam. And make a collage or a sign in respect and honor to the lost tribes of Israel and the tribes of Gad and Asher. Make a tribute to the Native Indian people who were almost wiped out completely in that evil genocide of white supremacy. We have, in 1954, His Imperial Majesty, Karamawi Haile Selassie I, visits the Indian chief on American soil. His Majesty's visit to the U.S. back in 1954. The calling of ethnic Israelites of the Northern Kingdom to come back to their culture, not through the hands of white supremacy or counterfeit Christianity. Tell some of the people, some of these so-called native Indians, integrated with other indigenous peoples, many of them ethnic Gadites and Reubenites. They must do away with their gods and their idols. Perhaps the idol worship and deceptions mixed in with their Hebraic cultures is what deceived them and held them into that generational curse. However, the hands and hypocrisy of white supremacy, not white people in general, not even the majority of European settlers and people that came over here for religious freedom, from the downpression of their people as well, but the powers that be, the elite, and these Luciferians that pretend to be Christians and tried to wipe out the so-called native Indians from their land, taken to that North Kingdom or that North land in that first exile. So Babylon must fall. The hands of white supremacy and this whole wicked Babylon system must fall. So we tell our beloved mothers and our stepfathers and our grandparents and our cousins that we gather on this day to be grateful, to have close friends and family. We're thankful for our family, for the clothes on our back, for good food to eat that the Most High Jah provides or that God provides. But let us also be thankful to the Native Indian, that Native American or so-called Native Indian connection, that Almighty God, the Most High Jah, so spared and preserved the ethnic native tribes of Israel, to bring them back, not through the hands of counterfeit Christianity, through Romanism, through Protestantism or Catholicism, but through the King of Kings in Jesus Christos. Shalom.